All right, today I've got my review of the Sougayilang HBS 180 Little Traveling Spinning Rod. So like all my other reviews, I'm going to review a travel rod today. And this one's going to be a little bit different than some of the other ones. The other ones that I reviewed so far on the higher end of the spectrum of travel rods. And this one's going to be on the lower end as far as price, but maybe not on quality, and maybe it's what you've been looking for. Maybe you don't want a $400 rod that you're going to take on international trips for peacock bass and payara and New Guinea black bass and stuff like that. Maybe you want something that you can keep for easy access for taking out to a pond or pond hopping on your bike or something like that. And I think this might be a good option for those of you who are looking for something like that. So this is the Sougayilang HBS 180. 180 is the centimeters, I think, that it is long. So it's about 5'10", 6 feet. It's a shorter rod, spinning rod. It comes in a little travel case or a little woven plastic case like that. And if you get the combo, then it comes in a hard case, which I've also got with the reel. But this is my newest one, and I wanted to show you that little travel case that it comes with right there. It's got a little tip protector that protects the tip and some of the front guides. Let's pop that off right here. Take a look at it. It's a 5-section telescoping rod. So there's your one section, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there it is right there. You can take a look at the handle. It looks kind of futuristic. You can also unscrew this handle section, extend the butt just a little bit like that. You've got some aluminum or some kind of alloy. So the metal on here. It's got a composite foam grip on the butt section. It's got what they call piano ceramic guides. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but they're pretty durable. I haven't broken any of the guides on these things. The rod itself is a carbon fiber and fiberglass mix, and it's relatively durable. I've taken it on a lot of the trips just as a spare rod to have in a canoe, where I've got a rod ready to rig up with something different, and I can switch back and forth between my other rods. It's another good use of the rod would be if you're going fishing for muskie or something like that, and you've got all your rods rigged up for muskie, but you want to bring along a little rod for bass, just in case you see something that you want to throw a bass lure at, or you're not sure what you're going to find on the trip and you want to bring a little spare, or a canoe trip into the Boundary Waters or something like that. This is a good little option for that. So let's talk about some of the other stuff about the rod. It's pretty cheap. It costs about $20, and I think that's way on the cheaper end of all the travel rods and stuff that I've talked about. Some of the more expensive ones are $350, almost $400. So for $20, you kind of can't go wrong with this little dude. I'll talk about the combo too. So the combo comes with the spinning reel that you see right there. It's a decent little spinning reel. I've used it for bass and for fishing on some little rivers for walleye and pike, and I might have caught a couple small muskie on it. It's got 13+1 bearings in it, so it's pretty smooth, especially out of the box. Now, it's not one that I would use a lot on salt water unless you want to take it apart and grease it and oil it after every single trip that you take it on. It will corrode. I mean, it's cheap. Inexpensive. Not that it doesn't work that good. I mean, the drag is okay. It's not the smoothest drag in the world, but it's okay. Reeling it is pretty smooth. You know, I've taken it on a couple trips to South Florida for snook and smaller peacock bass and snakehead and that kind of stuff. And I did use it in some brackish water down there. And when I got it back after traveling back, it was grinding like a coffee grinder a little bit. So I had to take it apart, grease it, oil it, wipe it down, get all that salt out of it, and then it worked fine again. But If you're going to do a trip like that with it, you want to make sure that you take care of it after the trip. I think the combo is right around $100 for the two, maybe anywhere between 79 and $100. So, I mean, they're charging you $80 for the reel. That might be a little on the expensive side for the reel of this quality, but the rod is good, and it also comes with a carrying case and a bunch of lures and stuff. A bunch of little rattle traps, little soft plastics, which are pretty good, and also line. So it's pretty much everything that you would need to go fishing right out of the box. So I want to talk about what I'd use it for and what I wouldn't use it for. So I think on the thumbnail of the rod, I'm gonna put one of the best fish that I've caught with this rod. I caught a snook that was probably, I don't know, 30 inches, maybe pretty close to it, maybe 27, 28, 30, something like that. I'm not sure exactly how big it was because I didn't measure it. But yeah, on a canoe trip down south, fishing in the mangroves and stuff, I was skipping a little DOA shrimp underneath the mangroves and got a real nice snook. Caught some other smaller snook on that trip also, and some catfish that we got back in the mangroves, oddly enough. And it performed good on all the bass and all the walleye and all the pike and even the smaller snook. But on that bigger snook, fishing out of the canoe, it broke the one that I was using for that. It kind of dove underneath the boats, and one of the disadvantages of these telescoping rods that don't have floating guides is it's going to bend and have a weak point wherever you have a guide. So each section is stopped and then has a guide. So the arc of energy or bend that's put on it when it bends is not the smoothest, because probably there should be a couple of other guides on there to have a real smooth bend arc, a diffusion of the energy over the length of the rod. And so, yeah, well, mine broke, but I was still able to land the fish. And even though the rod broke on that fish, I still think it's a decent value for what you're paying for it. Would I take it on a trip like that for snook again? Probably not. I'll probably use one of my other 3 or 4 piece travel rods that isn't telescoping for one of those. That's a little bit more heavy duty. And also, one of the deals why it broke was the angle that it was bending at. The fish was able to dive directly underneath the canoe, and that's probably one of the most dangerous bends that you can put on a rod. And on this one, obviously, it broke at the weakest point, which oddly enough wasn't the tip. I think it was this middle section of the rod right here where it broke. Yeah, so I was a little bit disappointed with that, but you know, you live and you learn. But for all the pond fishing for largemouth bass, smallmouth bass in little rivers, and other smaller stuff like that, trout, maybe smaller peacock bass from ponds, then I think it's fine. But yeah, you got to be careful where you take it and what you're using it for. So, pluses and minuses for this guy. Pluses would be the cost. Super cheap. 20 to 26 bucks, I think, depending on what model you get. I would recommend this model, which, like I said before, is the 180 for how heavy of lures it can throw. It's rated for 1 ounce to 2 ounce. I'd say that's probably a little bit heavier on the heavy side for this rod. Probably a little bit lighter would be better. Probably 1 ounce would be on the high end of what you would want to throw with this thing. But for, you know, little soft plastics, little crankbaits, little bass spinners, it's perfect. And it handles almost everything that you're going to catch on that size stuff pretty good. The portability, super portable. This thing is only 16 inches when it's closed up. You know, it's pretty small. You can fit this easily into a small bag or on the side of a backpack, no problem. And it's not bumping into anything. And when you've got the little tip protector on there, it's pretty safe from anything that it's bumping into as you're riding around on your bike or running around through the bushes in different places where you're going to fish. It looks pretty cool, you know, another plus of it. It's got, you know, decent EVA foam on the back. The metal looks cool. The multicolored guides are kind of neat. You can kind of see them there. It's relatively durable for all those fish species and places where you're going to use it. It's relatively durable. I wouldn't be, like I said, I kind of found out its limits of its durability on that trip for snook. Yeah, I wouldn't be taking it for any big tarpon or even medium tarpon, but little baby tarpon, maybe back in the mangroves, are okay. But for snook out of a canoe, I don't think so. Or bigger peacock bass or anything like that. If you're going to go on an international trip, I wouldn't take it on anything like that. But if you were going to take it and just put little stuff on it for maybe baby peacocks or species fishing in the Amazon or something, then I think it would be worth it. And guys, for 20 bucks, it's pretty fun to use. It's pretty fun to have a super portable rod that you can take around and see how big of a fish that you can catch on it. And if something happens to it for 20 bucks, hey, no big deal. I can buy another one and get it replaced. The minuses, well, I'm going to repeat some of the pluses and the minuses on here, as some of the pluses also are the minuses. So it looks kind of space aged, and to some people might look a little cheesy, but I think it looks cool. So that's going to be on my pluses and my minuses, but some people it might be a minus thing. Also on minuses, the durability. For 20 bucks, it's durable, but as far as durable for fishing for big fish and being 100% dependable, I wouldn't say it's that durable. So you want to kind of compartmentalize the durability, what you can use it for and can't use it for. So on all sorts of little stuff, like I said, or medium fish, you'd have no problem catching a 5 or 6 pound bass on this thing. But as you guys probably know, saltwater stuff is a different game. Those fish are way stronger, way faster. They hit way harder. And if you're thinking you're going to take it down to the glades and hammer a bunch of big snook and big fish from the docks and stuff, that's not what you want to use it for. Another minus is made in China. So, I try to buy stuff that's made in other places in China as much as I can. As long as you know where it's made and you don't care, that's that. Another thing that's a big minus is it kind of can't be repaired, which is a super bummer. It does have this little end cap on here that can be, kind of can't undo it now, unscrewed. And I thought that was so that you could replace these different sections if they broke. And I was able to email Sougayilang, funky name too, that's kind of a minus, and ask him if I could get replacement sections and then just replace it myself. And the lady that I talked to, she was super helpful in kind of talking to me about it, and they got right back to me. But unfortunately, you can't buy replacement sections. I've already had a couple that I have broken. Like I said, one was with the snook, and I can't remember what the other ones. The other ones were probably some fault of my own or something like that. Oh, I did break another one on a hook set on a smallmouth. The angle of the hook set was kind of funny, and the drag was kind of tight, and it did break on a hook set. But that was on one that I had fished already for, a couple of years and caught a whole mess of fish on. And so, yeah, for 20 bucks, it's not a big deal. But if you're looking to be able to replace it and you had some sort of attachment to the rod, I'd rather be able to replace the rod than have to buy a whole new one, just because then I've got, there's nothing wrong with the rest of those other rods that I have. And if I could just get a couple pieces to replace it, that'd be really cool. So that's pretty much it for the pluses and the minus of it. Should you get it? That's up to you guys and what you want to use it for. For what I want to use it for fishing on a small boat or having an extra rod that I can kind of store away if I'm on a specialized fishing trip, but I want another rod that I can bust out and use for whatever opportunities that I might see while I'm there that I didn't know. Let's say we're going to a big musky lake where I know there's big musky and that's going to be the principal target. But then all of a sudden I find while I'm there at the lake that I see a big school of crappie. I didn't bring any of my crappie stuff or anything like that, and I wanted to take a break and see if I can catch some of these crappie. Well, if you had this stored away in some little compartment and you had, just some spare jigs or little tube jigs or something like that, you could always throw this and pick some up, and it doesn't take up barely any room. Or the same thing for bass or bluegill or whatever. you know, it's good to have a plan B on some of those trips. Or like I said before, if you're traveling internationally and you want to fish for some species fishing to see all the different species you can get, this is a perfect one. Doesn't add a whole bunch of weight and equipment that you're bringing on one of those big international trips where you don't have an unlimited amount of weight and stuff that you can pack. So yeah, I consider it picking up and adding to your travel rod arsenal for 20 bucks. It's pretty cool. I'm going to show you guys another little problem that I had with one of the earlier rods that I got. This one, I don't know what exactly happened, but I can't collapse it at this junction. It's kind of wedged in there. I've tried all sorts of stuff to get it to be able to go back down together, but it really hasn't affected the performance of the rod. I still use it and still catch fish on it, but probably at some point at that junction between those two pieces, it's probably going to break or something. But like I said, I've already got a replacement and it's no big deal to replace it for 20 bucks. Okay, so if you wanted to check it out, I'll contact Sougayilang and see if they have an affiliate link or something like that, but I'll link to where you can buy it on Amazon, and you can use my link if you want. Check it out, pick it up, test it for some smaller fish, medium fish, bigger fish, and let me know what you guys think of it. Thanks.